Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is 903 Sports. We got a two-legged pod today. I'm your host, Cameron Brown, joined by my man, Hunter Shattuck. Hunter, how's it going over in the D.C. area this evening?
It's great, man. It's real cold. Lows in the 20s now, so it's officially wintertime.
I thought the 40s were bad over here, but we're going to lay some wisdom on y'all late in this week. We haven't had a pod in a little while. We got the World Cup coming up next week. College football is winding down. The Cowboys back in the news after a nasty loss on Sunday. So let's start with the Cowboys. And we'll go into some college football talk and finish up with World Cup talk and a little college hoops preview. Big week for college hoops as well. So the Cowboys blow a 28-14 lead Sunday against the Green Bay Packers in Lambeau. That game was in Lambeau, wasn't it?
Yeah.
On the road. But it's 28-14. First time in Dallas Cowboys franchise history they blow a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter. That's
shocking, by the way.
That is shocking. I was surprised to see that. But you do it against a Packers team that's 3-6. They're not playing good. Rodgers looks terrible. He's frustrated. They don't have any wide receivers. And Dallas just threw up on themselves. So I'll start. I'll let you ask. Well, I start with you, Hunter. It's just you. I'll ask, who's to blame? In my opinion, it's Dak. He played bad. He had two critical interceptions, one in the red zone. So I'll ask you, who's to blame for Sunday?
Yeah, I mean, in big picture, it's probably Dak's fault. I know the play calling wasn't great there in overtime into the game, but yeah, you got to put it on Dak, I think. Now, to be fair, the second interception didn't look like a bad throw. It looked like a miscommunication, which you can probably just chalk up to he missed, 5 weeks in the middle of the season. Right. So I'm to make myself feel better as a fan, I'm going to say that it was just miscommunication. He's rusty, doesn't have perfect chemistry with his receivers yet, and they'll get that ironed out by playoff time. So that's what I'm going to tell myself. So I'm not pushing the panic button or anything like that. But yeah, I mean, he's got to be better. He's got to be better in the red zone, got to be better in the fourth quarter. Dak's in there because, in my opinion, he can close games, and you don't blow a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter if you can close games. Mm-hmm. That being said, I'd really like to see the Cowboys run the ball a little bit more. We were on the podcast. It was after Dak's first game back, and they ran it, I think, 2 more times than he threw it. Like, they handed the ball off to the running back 2 more times than he threw it. And I said, that is the recipe for the Cowboys' success. And that is decidedly not what happened this week. He threw it 46 times, and Tony Pollard got 22 carries. And I think there were a couple other carries, like end arounds and stuff like that, but significantly more passes. And that's a game that they were leading a lot of the time, and they were still throwing it a lot more. So, I mean, yeah, he shouldn't have thrown the 2 picks, but you put it in the air 46 times and you really don't need to. You're going to have a couple of interceptions. That's kind of how it works.
Yeah, the Jets are the same way. And not to get on a tangent about the Jets and Cowboys are very similar. If Zach Wilson's throwing the ball 45 times, we're going to lose that game. Mm-hmm. If Dak's throwing it 48 times, 50 times, Dallas is going to lose. When Dallas went 13-3, won the division 4 or 5 years ago, Dak's rookie year, that team was really good because they had a great O-line, and Zeke had a hell of a year. Mm-hmm. And they were a run-first team, and Dak didn't turn the ball over and made plays. Now, Dak's a lot better player than he was 5 years ago.
Yeah.
But he's still not a guy that I want throwing 45 times. Yep. Dak can win a Super Bowl. I fully believe that. I've been on the Dak train his entire career. But the Cowboys need to run the ball, establish the run, and play defense. That's their identity. And Dak will make plays when he needs to. He's not a guy that's going to throw for 450 yards and throw it 55 times. That's not the Cowboys recipe, in my opinion. So let me ask you this. What did you think about the call that they go for a call in overtime instead of kicking the field goal and taking the lead? Because the Vikings kicked the field goal and won the game with a defensive stand on Josh Allen against the Bills.
Yeah.
The noon slate. Dallas went for it, didn't get it, lost.
Yeah, I mean, they're lining up to go for it, and I'm sitting there thinking, why are you not kicking the field goal? Like, in the moment, I thought we should be kicking this field goal. And, of course, it didn't work out, and, of course, we lose the game. So now it's easy for me to sit here in hindsight and say, yeah, we should have kicked it. But even in the moment, I'm sitting there thinking, kick the field goal. What would it have been, a 52, 53-yard or something like that?
Yeah, 51, maybe 50.
Yeah, something. I mean, very makeable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so, yeah, no, he definitely should have kicked it, in my opinion. And, I'm no McCarthy lover. I'm a noted Mike McCarthy hater. Indeed. And that just adds to the list of his transgressions. So, yeah, should have kicked it.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I like the aggression, but the play they ran wasn't good. It was a one read play. It wasn't there, and it was just dead.
Why is that a thing? Why are there so many one read plays on
I
like
don't know.
eh,
It's
short distance situations? I don't like it.
I don't either because if it's not there, the play's dead. I
Yeah.
mean, look, take your points, trust your defense. You got top 3 defense in the NFL. Rogers played well on Sunday, but the Packers are not the Packers of old. They're not a good football team.
Mm-mm.
They play the Titans tonight. We'll find out a little bit more about them tonight, see if they can save their season because the Packers would have lost Sunday, their season was over.
Mm-hmm.
They get to live to fight another day against the Titans, and maybe that sparks their season. Who knows? I think Dallas is fine. I think Dallas is going to be a playoff team, no doubt. They've got one of the best defenses in the league. Michael Parsons might be your defensive player of the year. Guys playing unbelievable football. Tony Pollard's emerged as a star. I think Dallas
Yeah.
has the pieces. Bad
Yep.
game on Sunday. If I'm a Dallas fan, I'm not panicking. I'm upset. That's a game they should not have lost at all. But, they're fine. Big game against the Vikings on Sunday. You don't want to rattle off 2 in a row. We get to play a top team in the NFL, so we'll see
Mm-hmm.
what Dallas has in store Sunday. So speaking of the Vikings, they took down the Giant Bills, who the Bills are. That's 2 losses in a row for
Yeah.
Buffalo. They're sputtering a little bit. They're not this dominant team everybody thought they were going to be coming into this season. So Minnesota Vikings, Hunter, are we buying them as a real team, or are they fraudulent like the Steelers were a couple years ago, and they were like 12-0 maybe, and they fell apart after that.
Man,
They have so many.
I've been down on Kirk Cousins forever.
Me too.
Literally forever. But I've always said that he's a average quarterback. This year he's actually below average in QBR. He's 20th in the NFL in QBR, which is not good, especially considering the weapons he has. Those weapons, if you're still putting up below average numbers, that's bad. But if he can't do it this year, he's never going to be able to because he has the best pieces in the NFL, and it may not even be close. So they're scary only because if he just plays decent football, they're a great team because of how good all the skill players are. But how afraid are you that Kirk Cousins is going to play decent football?
I mean, the running joke is Kirk Cousins at 11 o'clock or 12 o'clock is an elite quarterback on Sunday. 1 o'clock slate, Kirk Cousins is a dog. You put him in prime time, he's awful.
Mm-hmm.
My thing with, like you said, if he can't do it this year, who knows when they're going to do it? Because you only get so many years of prime Dalvin Cook. The prime for running back is very short. I mean, just
especially one that with his injury history.
Exactly. Just ask Todd Gurley. He's out of the league now, and he was dominant for a couple of years. Dalvin Cook, I'm not saying he's going to get hurt. He may have 5 years left, but you just never know.
Mm-hmm.
You don't want to waste great years like this. Like the Vikings defense has kind of come along. It was terrible the last 2 years. It's been better. And Justin Jefferson might be the best receiver in the NFL.
Yeah.
MVP candidate right now.
Yeah.
Did you see his catch Sunday?
Yeah, it was stupid. Yeah, it was stupid.
That's the best catch I've seen since Odell.
If this year, let's say are they Super Bowl or bust? Do you think? Like, do you think in Minnesota the fans are thinking if we don't win the Super Bowl, it's a failure?
I don't think so, just because they haven't made a run in so long. I mean,
not since Case Keenum
playoffs last year, did they? No, they didn't. They didn't.
I don't think so.
They haven't had much success. They made the playoffs. Let's see, that was about 5 or 6 years ago when the kicker had like that 23-yarder against Seattle and he duck hooked it and missed.
Surely they've made the playoffs since Case Keenum when
that was their best team they had, which was 2018 with Case Keenum and the busted play against the Saints. What do they call that play? The Miracle. The Minneapolis Miracle.
Something like that, yeah.
Got absolutely shelled by the Eagles in the NFC Championship after that.
Mm-hmm.
And then 3-4 years before that was the Blair Walsh duck hook field goal. So other than that, though, they haven't had too many memorable teams. In the last 2-3 years, they've had losing records. They haven't been very good.
So the reason I ask is let's say they don't even make the NFC Championship game. They go out in the divisional round. How do you make this team better? How do you go into the offseason and make this team better other than getting a new quarterback?
And they're not getting a new quarterback.
No.
It's
kind
of like the Titans and Ryan Tannehill. He's just good enough, but you're not going to get rid of him because there's a lot worse. There's better.
And Tannehill statistically better than Kirk Cousins this year. Higher QBR.
He is. He sure is. But it's kind of same group of guys. You kind of group those guys that you don't want to get rid of them because you can really find yourself in a bad position.
I compare it almost to how Andy Dalton was with the Bengals.
Yeah, same thing.
Mm-hmm.
They'll keep you relevant. You're not going to go 4-13, You may have some. You're going to have some bad games, but I don't know if they're going to win you a Super Bowl. I just don't know. Kirk Cousins need a game-winning drive to get to the Super Bowl. He's just not the guy. I don't care who he's got. And Kirk's having a decent year, but
that's the nicest thing you can say about Kirk Cousins. That's the point.
I've been a Kirk Cousins guy, man. I just never have been. I can never buy the hype. And I like this Vikings team. Got a first-year head coach, 8-1.
Are you concerned about Josh Allen and the Bills at all?
I would be if I was a Bills fan. As a Jets fan, I'm elated. I think the Bills are doing great. I think they're playing great football right now. But if I'm a Bills fan, man, I'm not slamming the panic button, but I'm a little concerned because Josh Allen's getting turnover happy. He threw a bad interception in the red zone against the Jets last week. Yep. And he threw a terrible one. And when they were well in field goal range in overtime to tie that thing up against Minnesota, he's still Josh Allen. He's a top 5 player in the NFL, but
and then there was that fumble in the end zone. Now it was fumbled on the snap. I don't know if that was his fault, but
that was a disaster. I've never seen that before.
I mean, that's the one thing you can't do.
Your job is to get the ball and fall forward.
Yeah.
And it looked
especially when you're 6'5" like he is.
That was a mistake. He's kind of turnover prone this year.
But, well, I don't know if it was last week or a couple weeks ago. He was like shaking his arm and he had that elbow issue
right now. Yeah.
So
we didn't know if he was going to play this week against Minnesota.
Yeah. Why are they playing him? I mean,
just because that was a big game. I would if he's still hurt, I would not play him against Cleveland.
No, because I'd rather sacrifice the 1 seed because that's what they're playing for. They're trying to get home field, get a bye. I'd rather sacrifice the 1 seed and guarantee Josh Allen's going to be 100% in the playoffs. Because I'm thinking if I get Josh Allen at 100%, I don't care who I'm playing or where I'm playing them. I can go in and beat them. They've already won in Kansas City this year.
Yep.
Like, I think they should be prioritizing getting him healthy.
Yeah, I mean the Bills are gonna be fine. They're gonna make the playoffs. They're gonna make a run. They're gonna be just fine. They got a great defense. The only thing the thing that concerns me the most about the Bills is they cannot run the football. They were big in on trying to get McCaffrey, and they lost out on that deal. Him going to San Francisco, that hurts them.
Yeah, I keep waiting for Devin Singletary to show up, and he had a decent game. Didn't he have 2 touchdowns, but didn't really set the world on fire.
He's a kind of a scat back, kind of good guy to have in your team, but he's not your every down runner. And James Cook's still a rookie, and then Zach Moss never panned out. So I don't know the Bills. That's why I can't buy them. I don't know who my Super Bowl favorite is right now, to be completely honest. If I'm just thinking about it, Philly looked awful Sunday night against the Commanders, which that's their first loss. They're fine. You got the Vikings. I can't buy Kirk Cousins. The Chiefs defense is kind of shaky. Josh Allen's turned the ball over in Buffalo. I guess you just got to pick the New York Jets. I don't know. What do you think?
You might as well, right? You might as well.
I don't know. I would still say the Bills are probably your favorite. I don't know what the Vegas odds are, but I would say they're up there. Man, the turnovers scare me for Josh, for sure.
Yeah, I agree. Especially if they don't get home field. If he hadn't kind of gotten over the turnover issue and they don't get home field, I'd be concerned.
I love Dallas until they blew that lead against Green Bay, and I was like, well,
that'd be all right.
Let's pump.
Let me ask you this: so with the Eagles losing, Cowboys losing, and the Vikings winning, who you got to come out of the NFC right now?
Can you ask me in 2 weeks if Tom Brady and the Bucs rattle off 3 in a row?
Shut up.
I'm gonna panic. I'm just telling you, the NFC's wide open.
Yeah,
doesn't it seem like? Look, I know the last time we were on this pod, I was bashing Tampa and how bad they are, and they're still not a very good football team. But from the guy tormenting me for 22 years of life, it's hard to count him out. If they can rattle off a few wins, I'll be scared. I'm gonna still take Philly. They got Ndamukong Suh today, which is a nice pickup.
But he's gonna do something stupid and get suspended, and
very possible. Philly has the best secondary and the best offensive line in the league, and I think that's going to carry them. They just don't have to beat anybody in the NFC at the beginning. They're going to have to play. Who are they going to play first round? Arizona, maybe, if they sneak in. I mean, there's no one there. There's no one scary. Your top teams in the NFC, your quarterbacks are Daniel Jones, Geno Smith, Kirk Cousins. Like, I don't know. And Geno's having a great year in Seattle. Daniel Jones is having a great year, but those are not guys that I trust historically in the playoffs. There's just no way.
No.
All right, let's move on. Let's talk a little college football.
Let's do it.
Big game that both of us have our eyes on this week, Baylor and TCU.
That's right.
Only a 2.5-point favorite in Waco on Saturday. Vegas is not giving the Frogs any love. Tennessee desperately needs TCU to lose this game. I don't know about desperately, but it would be nice. Sorry, Bosco. It would be nice if TCU loses this game. then I have no sweat. TCU loses, Tennessee's in no matter what, as long as we take care of our last two games.
Yeah.
But Baylor looked terrible last week. Awful. At home.
Not even. They don't deserve respectfully.
3 points at home against K-State. Those teams are even as you can get. And matchup-wise, it's not like K-State's a top 5 team in the country.
No.
And Baylor had started to get my belief back in the team. They were playing good the last few weeks, and they just laid an egg. But it's a rivalry game. You know what this reminds me of, Hunter?
What's that?
When Baylor beat TCU in 2014, that 61-58.
Yeah, late 2014.
Yeah, 2014. And that ruined TCU's chance to make the playoff. Guess what can happen again this week?
It won't be 61-58, I can promise you that.
Absolutely not. But same scenario. So I don't know.
I got a little rant I'm gonna go on real quick.
Go ahead, pal.
People at ESPN don't know what the heck they're talking about.
No, they don't, I've said it for years. They don't watch the games.
I have 2 pieces of evidence. One, Paul Feinbaum said that TCU is on upset alert because Baylor plays well at home. We just lost 31-3 against Kansas State last week at home, at night, in a blackout game. That's the recipe for how you beat a team at home. You play at night, you have some color coordination in the crowd, and the team shows up and they play well. We got beat by 28 points at home, but Feinbaum says we play well at home. And honestly, I think TCU should be on upset alert. I think we lost to TCU last year. That was our only loss, and we were like 5 in the country or something going into it. Anyway, I think we can win the game this weekend, but it ain't going to be because we're scary at home, Feinbaum. Number 2, Stephen A. Smith said that TCU doesn't play anybody. Of the teams in the playoff right now, you know who ESPN says has the best strength of record? TCU.
They have 5 ranked wins. 5.
It is. If you don't think they're a good football team, okay, that's fine. We can agree to disagree. Or frankly, I don't think they're one of the best 4 teams anyway, respectfully. But don't blame it on the record. Don't say they haven't played anybody. That's just objectively untrue. Right. And ESPN, be better. Just be better.
Here's where I'm at with the whole playoff thing. One, you're right. And it's not just ESPN. These guys do not watch games.
Yeah.
Especially college games. You just wait till college basketball season ramps up and they have nothing else to talk about.
It's pitiful.
It's worse. They don't watch the games. TCU has 5 ranked wins. How you say that on national television? TCU hasn't played anybody, hadn't played a good schedule. As Stephen A. would say, that's blasphemous.
And he's supposed to be this guy who is objective and tells it how it is, and terrible.
Here's where I'm at. You have to do this resume based. You can't say, well, I don't think they're very good. Well, how do you know they're not very good? Like, my personal opinion, I don't think TCU's an elite team, but we can't keep them out of the playoff because they've won everything on their schedule.
Caveat, at this point in the season.
At this point, correct.
We have enough, the resumes have enough meat on them where you can compare. After week 3, week 4, it's just the eye test.
That's just why I like that they put it out week 8 or whenever they start to put it out. You just got to do it resume based. No one has a better resume in the country than Tennessee. TCU's right there, and obviously Georgia's the best team. They haven't lost a game. You can't say, well, you look how good USC is. They have Caleb Williams and their offense is electric. Well, they have a loss.
And no good wins.
And no good wins. 0 ranked wins for the Trojans. 0. Mm-hmm. You get an opportunity against UCLA and Notre Dame in the last 2 weeks. So maybe if they go blow them out, we can give USC some respect. But resume basis of right now, you got to give TCU credit. I don't want to. I want them to lose and get out of the way so Tennessee can get in the playoff. But you got to give them credit where credit is due. To be
agreed.
So there's your TCU rant, Bosco, if you're listening. So let's talk about this. I want to add this in and we'll talk about Bama. Texas Longhorns. Are they ever going to be bad? They stink, man. They got that game Saturday night at home. Game days there. Texas got all the hype. That was one of the more embarrassing performances that I've seen in a very long time. Scored 3 points offensively. 3. Against a TCU defense, it's not very good. That's average at best. They had 1 touchdown. It was a defensive touchdown late in the game. TCU offensively played about as bad as they could. And TCU was in complete control in the second half. So what does Texas do?
I'm going to say something pretty a hot take. We'll call it a hot take.
All right, let's hear it.
You know who has as many Big 12 championships as Texas? Baylor.
Wow.
Pitiful. That's pitiful, right?
It's not good.
And we talk about Texas like, will they ever be back? Will they ever be back? They haven't been relevant in
a long time.
13 years. What, 2009 was the Colt McCoy national championship game against Alabama?
They had the one good Sam Ehlinger year when they won the Sugar Bowl. Other than that,
and Texas 15 years ago would never have called that a good year.
Never.
So I think that kind of backs up the point. Will they ever be perennial power again? I don't think so. I really don't. I think there's such a culture of underachieving now around there that's just it's kind of cancerous almost.
Hard to overcome.
Yeah. They may have good seasons. I mean, heck, even Baylor sniffed making a playoffs a couple years ago. So yeah, I mean, if Baylor can sniff making a playoff, so can Texas. Anybody can, get hot, win a couple of games. Although they're going to the SEC, maybe they won't. But
they're in trouble when they go to the SEC, man.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think Sark's the problem. He's lost too many close games over and over and over. He doesn't win any of the close ones.
Man, but he can't be the problem. This is only his second year.
But these games that they lose it's his second year.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Over and over and over, they fall apart in the second half in the fourth quarter and fold up. That's coaching. Now TCU was different. They just played like crap.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. I'm not. You can't get rid of Sark. He's too early, and the recruiting's been too good to get rid of him. But I'm just not a Sark guy.
I have Texas fatigue. I'm so sick of hearing, "Oh, this is the year. This is the coach that's going to. Oh, this quarterback is so good." Just to do the same thing over and over and over again. I'm tired of hearing about it. Call me when you're actually good. All right, then I'll listen.
No one has had a more embarrassing season than the Texas A&M Aggies.
Correct.
Sitting at 3-7, and they're a field goal from hitting the top of the post away from being 2-8 against Arkansas. 2 inches away from being 2-8. That's a situation where I think you got to tell Jimbo, hey, let's negotiate this buyout. We'll give you 40%. Hit the road. I don't think Jimbo would take it, but they're a mess. If you gave me every program situation in the country right now, I'd say A&M would be dead last. They're a mess right now. What a disaster.
I'm not right about much, Cameron. I'm almost never right. Almost never. But dadgummit, as soon as they hired Jimbo Fisher, I said, he's not a good football coach.
He's a great recruiter. He won 1 national championship with Jameis Winston and won the Heisman. Was one of the best college players ever that year.
Yeah.
Outside of that, I mean, he left Florida State in a mess they're still trying to dig themselves out of 6 years.
Yep.
And he's going to do the same thing to A&M. I mean, the way they played Saturday against Auburn, they've quit on him over there. They've got a big problem in College Station. All right, moving on. So let's talk Tennessee real quick, and then let's go to some college hoops. So here's the scenario for Tennessee. Just assuming we take care of business against South Carolina and Vandy, which at South Carolina at night, it's not a free win. As bad as Carolina's been playing, we should be fine. But it's on the road in college football. Can never count it out. We play at Vandy. Vandy's basically a home game anyway. Not worried about Vanderbilt. Just got to get past the Gamecocks this week. But just say we win out. Say TCU wins out. Ohio State beats Michigan. They'll be the favorite. They're at home. They take care of Michigan.
So under this circumstance, you've got Ohio State in.
Georgia's
TCU in.
Yes, TCU's in.
Okay.
And Georgia's undefeated. They can lose by 80 in the SEC championship. They're probably in.
Georgia's in. That's 3.
The scenario that terrifies me is USC wins the Pac-12. They went out, and LSU beats Georgia in the SEC championship. Who gets the 4th spot? Tennessee, LSU, or USC? This is what keeps me up at night.
That's a good question.
Tennessee beat LSU by 27 in Death Valley. a month ago.
Well, I can make this easy. USC gets in over LSU. They have one fewer loss, and they're both conference champions. So there's no world in which LSU gets in over USC.
USC schedule's so weak.
Yeah, that's true. But
in
who
their
has LSU?
defense,
Who's LSU beat? I guess they would have beat Georgia in this circumstance. Yeah,
have wins over Georgia and Bama and Ole Miss.
that's right. They did beat them. Okay, you're right. You're right. You're right.
Scares me. But USC's only loss is a 2-point conversion to Utah.
Yeah, who is a good football team?
Who is a top 10 team, and they will probably have a rematch in the Pac-12 championship if things shake out like they're looking like they will.
I don't like your chances there, Bob.
I just don't see how they keep us out. I don't. We beat LSU by 27 in their building.
What do you do about USC?
I'm leaving USC out. The schedule's too weak. They'll have two.
I know you are. You're a Tennessee fan.
No, I'll take that back. They would have 3 ranked wins. And they would finish with 3 wins.
Mm-hmm.
Still keeping them out. They're third in that race to me. Just because they play nobody in the conference.
And we're talking about resume. We're not talking about eye test. If we're talking about who I think is actually a better football team, I'm going Tennessee 4, LSU 5, USC 6 in that circumstance.
Resume, Tennessee would have 5 ranked wins, and their only loss would be on the road to Georgia, who was number 1 in the country going to the SEC championship. And the only reason we couldn't be in the SEC championship is because of the division split out. If it was like the Big 12, we would be the second best team in the SEC and play Georgia.
Mm-hmm.
With the conference is set up, LSU gets in.
But you better be glad you're not going to play Georgia again, because that would be your second loss and for sure out.
I'm not so sure about that. I'd like to see them again on neutral field.
I bet you would.
Sure would. That's another story for a different day. And listen, I don't think LSU's beating Georgia. I don't think there's a chance in hell. But if that does happen, chaos could ensue. Because Georgia is in if they win their last 2 games on their schedule. I don't care if they lose by 90. They're defending national champ. They went 13-0. Their only loss would be a postseason conference game. Mm-hmm. They would beat, and they beat us.
They would deserve it. They would deservedly be in.
I just think a win over a team, especially if you beat them in their place, carries a lot of weight in a head-to-head.
No, I would put Tennessee over LSU. USC is the one you need to be worried about.
See, I don't know. I think the committee keeping USC behind LSU for now says a lot. But
no, because under this circumstance, their resume is a whole lot different than it is right now.
Hopefully the Bruins just take care of USC and get them out of the way. But in this scenario, you got 3, and really you could put Michigan back in there too if you want. But Michigan doesn't have any good wins. They wouldn't beat them.
This is why the playoff needs to expand. Exactly. This is why. Is USC the best team in the country? No. Have they earned a right to try and win a national championship? Yes.
Absolutely. So does Michigan, whose only loss would be
Ohio State.
Number 2 in the country. And so would Tennessee, whose only loss is at the number 1 team in the country, Georgia. And USC won the Pac-12, and in this scenario, LSU wins the SEC. All those teams have a great argument, in my opinion. So now you have to boil down to resume and who has a better resume. And
I agree.
The head-to-head thing, man, I don't know.
I don't think, honestly, if LSU somehow beats Georgia, Tennessee finishes with 1 loss, I still think Tennessee should get in. And I think they will get in. I do.
If TCU loses, all this goes away and none of it matters.
If TCU loses and the rest of the scenario plays out and Tennessee finishes 5th, USC and LSU get in.
Oh, I would raise hell if that happened. I would have a conniption if that happened. No way. There's no way. What makes me angry is Tennessee going from 1 to 5 last week, and their only loss is at Georgia, who you think is the number 1 team in the country. I don't really understand that. If you thought we were number 1, why are you dropping us 4 spots?
TCU's undefeated.
Yeah, but man, I mean, our only loss is to freaking Georgia. But
yeah, you're right.
At the end of the day, please tell Baylor, give them a pep talk, something. Take care of the Frogs, get them out of the way, and then we'll go on about business.
Blake Shapen is the most inconsistent player on planet Earth.
Is he ever?
And he's coming off of a terrible performance, which means he's going to play great this week.
I hope. That line being 2 after what TCU did to Texas last week tells me that Vegas still does not buy the Frogs.
They know something. They know that there's a storm brewing down in Waco.
It always knows, Hunter. They always know.
That's
All right,
right.
let's talk some college hoops here, and then we'll
Let's
go
do
to
it.
So I'll let you go. Tennessee sucks at basketball. I'm mad at them. They lost to Colorado, and Colorado lost to UMass today. So now Colorado has lost to UMass and Grambling State. So Tennessee basketball, not worth my time right now. I'm mad at them. We don't have any size. Team's just long season ahead, but not a good start. I will give you the floor to talk about your Baylor Bears, who to me are the number 1 team in college basketball.
I agree. Objectively, there are 3 teams who have impressed me so far, who I think have a legitimate chance of being the best team in the country.
I have 4.
Houston, Baylor, and Texas. Both are all in the state of Texas. How about that? I think those are the 3 most impressive teams so far.
Michigan State's look good too.
Michigan State has looked good. I don't think Michigan State has a go-to guy at the end of the game.
They don't.
They don't have an elite or even a top-tier guard. Not even elite. They don't even have a top-tier guard. Tyson Walker's okay. He's serviceable. He'd be a really good number 2 guy.
Yeah.
But he's not a good first option game on the line. So I think they're a good team. They're probably a 15 to 20th best team in the country. I don't think they have any real chance of making a deep run come March. But anyway, back to Baylor. The wild card this year is going to be whether Jonathan Tchamwa is healthy. He has no timetable on the return. I wouldn't be shocked if he doesn't come back at all. I mean, we all saw the injury. It was disgusting. It was gross. So I think if he comes back and is any sort of a player come postseason, like if he resembles the guy he was before the injury, I think Baylor's far and away the best team in the country. I think the 3 guards we have right now, hot take, are every bit as good, if not better, than the 3 guards we had in 2021. Keontae George is the best basketball player to set foot in the city of Waco, Texas.
Wow.
He is the real deal. As disappointing as Kendall Brown was last year, Keontae George is that impressive.
I can't believe he went to the draft, by the way, Kendall Brown.
He's pitiful. What is he, G League, D League now? What's the deal?
Probably playing overseas already.
He's terrible. But I look, I could go on and on and on. Bottom line is, the wild card is there's not a whole lot of size. We still have Flo Thamba, much to my chagrin.
Still there?
He did not, breaking news, did not improve in the offseason, which is a real bummer.
He hadn't improved in 4 years that he's been there.
No, we need him to work on his agility. We got this freshman whose name I can't really pronounce. It's Joshua Ojianwuna or something like that. He's from Australia. He's got some size. He's 6'10". He moves all right. Personally, I prefer him over Thamba already. I think he'll grow into his body and he'll be a legitimate, 15 to 18-minute guy off the bench, which will help because Lord knows Thamba can't run for 30 minutes. So even without Tchamwa, I think we're a legitimate Final Four contender. Best guards in the country, and I don't think it's close. Tune into a game tomorrow night playing Virginia in Las Vegas. Now, Virginia's got a lot on their mind with the shooting that just happened, so they haven't canceled the game. They canceled their game earlier in the week. As of now, we're still playing the game tomorrow, but even if they come out flat, I wouldn't read too much into the game. I mean, goodness, Lord knows what they're going through. So, yeah, it's awful. So tomorrow night in Vegas.
I have to tune into that one. It's one of my favorite times of year with all these tournaments going on. I love because you get some random matchups.
Yeah. Hey, and I'll tell you what. December 2nd, I believe, Gonzaga Baylor, neutral site in Washington.
Wow. Let me come back Gonzaga real quick. I watched them play Texas. I think Texas is a top 5 team in the country. They shot the lights out. They're not going to do that every night. But Texas does a lot well. They're big and they have good guard play and they can shoot it. They were very impressive. And Chris Beard, give him credit. He did Texas Tech dirty, but that guy's a hell of a basketball coach.
Mm-hmm.
Gonzaga's in trouble. Gonzaga is Drew Timme and Drew Timme only right now.
Yeah.
You shut him down in the paint, they ain't got much. Mm-hmm. That Rasir Bolton kid hasn't really panned out, the Iowa State transfer. Strahler's an okay player. Their guards are weak, man. They don't have much depth either.
They have a bunch of good second and third option guards with no no Jalen Suggs, no Corey Kispert, like the guys that they had in 2021 who could really take hold of a game, they don't have any of those guys.
Yeah, their guards just didn't look very good last night. And it's still early. Things can change. But they beat Michigan State by one. The Michigan State team you said is a 15 to 20 team in the country. That's
Mhm.
where I think Gonzaga resides, kind of 15 to 20.
Yeah.
Not really a top 5 team.
And there are a lot of good bigs this year. I don't know if we're gonna we'll talk about that at some point in the future. There are a bunch of good bigs. Thing about having your best players a big though, it's especially a guy like Timmy who's not a physical presence.
Not
It's
at
hard
all.
for them to take over a game. It's hard for a non-physical big to really put a team on their back. And we saw that happen with Illinois last year with Kofi Coburn, and he can only take them so far.
Right.
So it's going to be interesting to see how teams like Michigan with Hunter Dickinson, how they play this year with their best option being a big guy.
And not to get completely off track here, because I want to get our Final Four picks, and then we'll kind of World Cup and wrap it up. They have Illinois Big Ten preseason favorite, which I thought was shocking.
Yeah.
Fellow was awful last year, but he's gone. Coburn's gone. Trent Frazier's gone, I think.
Yeah,
And
he
they
is. He
lost
was
a
a
lot of
fifth-year
guys.
senior last year.
Trent Frazier's been there forever. But they lost a lot of guys. So they must have either had a really good recruiting class
They
or
have a ton of transfers, one of them being Matthew Meyer from Baylor.
I forgot.
Oh, also Dane Danger, dude from Baylor, right? So he came to Baylor, I think 3 years ago, redshirted his freshman year, sat out last year, and transferred. He transferred in the spring, so he's been on campus up there for some time. Through 2 games, he was averaging almost 20 points this year. And in Waco, I thought he was garbage. He played a couple of times for us, and he was awful. So I don't know what happened, but apparently, according to John Rothstein, Dane Danger is getting a lot of minutes and producing for Illinois so far. So that's shocking.
They poached 2 Bears up there.
Yeah, wow. But I mean, Matthew Meyer, we know what his ceiling is. He doesn't scare me.
That guy's not changing the program. He's a good player. Don't get me wrong. He's not changing the program.
Yeah, he's a fine fourth option offensively.
All right, so let me get your Final Four prediction. I thought about mine earlier today, and I got some curveballs in mind for you. I'll let
See,
you
I
go.
don't have that many curveballs. Unsurprisingly, I have Baylor. I also have Houston, I have Kentucky, and I have UCLA.
UCLA. Wow. Like the
Yeah.
Bruins this year.
Yeah, I don't really like any of the other top teams. I don't trust Texas. Um, I really don't like the UCLA pick. I feel really confident about the other three. The team that goes out early. What's
Not
up?
Juzang. What's the kid's name?
Jaime Jaquez,
Jaquez is
Tiger
back.
Campbell.
Yeah, I knew Tiger was back, but Jaquez is back too.
Yeah, and they've got that 5-star recruit that's supposed to be a stud.
Wow, interesting. I didn't really think to put UCLA. So here's mine. Baylor, Kentucky. I think those are going to be your top 2 teams in about a month. Kentucky does everything well. They lost to Michigan State, but Toshiba, who I think is the best player in the country, was in foul trouble for most of that game. And
He still almost had a 2020 game.
He's unbelievable. I hate Kentucky, but I think they're really good, and they scare the mess out of me playing Tennessee this year. Gonna go. I know this is recency bias, but I'm gonna go Texas for now.
Wow.
And then I'm gonna say this is a year that we have a mid-major make a deep run into the Final Four, like a VCU or like a George Mason did. I mean, look how many mid-majors have beaten some of these Power 5 schools already. Like we talked about the other day, the transfer portal has completely changed the game of college basketball. I mean, St. Pete was a game away last year from making it. There's going to be a random team. I don't know who it is. There's going to be some random team.
You're not even going to give me a team?
I just, it's too hard to predict. Like, who saw St. Peter's last year?
Okay, so when you
a
say
good mid-major, I mean, I have some mid-majors I'll give you that I think are good.
Do you think it's actually going to be a mid-major or just like insert
high
random
seed,
6
9,
or 7
10,
seed?
11, high seed. Just could be a random team. That's my pick. It just, the way the season has started, that's what it seems like to me.
Okay, I'll tell you what. As far as predictions go, I have for you Baylor, Kentucky, Texas, and then 8 seed and up. So if an 8 seed or higher gets in, I'll give you credit.
Okay, that's a deal.
Deal. All right,
It's a very
cool.
broad pick, but I just think, man, seems like the year that a team could.
What's the highest seed to make a Final Four? 10?
I think VCU was an 11 seed.
Yeah, that's right. And then Syracuse also was an 11
Syracuse
a few years ago.
As well, correct. And then Loyola Chicago they were 10 seed when they went deep.
I think so, yeah.
But I love Houston. They're the most athletic team in college basketball. But what gets teams in the tournament? What gets them beat every year in the tournament? Shooting. Houston, what got them beat last year? They went cold shooting. They are not a sharp shooting basketball team.
Yeah.
They go out there and go play a team like my Toledo Rockets, who I'm going to talk about, who can hang 110 on you real quick, popping threes from everywhere, can get you.
Here's my theory on Houston, though. I've told you this already. The stars are aligning. Final Four is in Houston this year, okay? Jim Nance's last Final Four, you know where he went to college? The University of Houston. Say no more. They're not my pick to win the national championship because I got to pick Baylor, and I legitimately think we're the best team in the country. However, sports are cool, and that's something that would happen. So look out for Houston.
So many guys back from last year, and Kelvin Sampson's such a good basketball coach.
Yeah.
But man, I don't know. Teams like that just scare me that they'll grind you up and play you 61-55 like Villanova did for so many years.
Mm-hmm. But can they go 6 games in a row without a cold stretch?
Yeah, that's the question. And maybe they can just out-tough you. Maybe that's just the way they're going to play.
Heck, they made the Final Four 2 years ago off of it.
Sure did. And they got some of those guys still on that team from that Final Four team. So, all right, let's talk a little World Cup. You ready? This is going to be your segment here. The World Cup is on Monday. It is finally here.
That's right.
United States. What are the expectations for the 2022 World Cup?
Okay. So I'm going to do best case and worst case scenario. And reality is probably going to be somewhere in the middle.
Of course.
There's a real chance with our group that we get 0 points. There's a real chance. That's not outside. There's no Costa Rica made the World Cup. They're terrible. If Costa Rica, if they were in our group, we get some points. There's no Saudi Arabia in our group. They're awful. Qatar is in the World Cup. Obviously, they're hosting it. They're terrible at soccer. So I shouldn't say that. They're better than Saudi Arabia and Costa Rica. But Iran and Wales are both solid soccer teams. And FIFA rankings aren't perfect, but we're 16 in the FIFA rankings. Wales is 17, and Iran's 20. So it's not like they're just these garbage teams. So bottom of the list of possibilities, of real possibilities, is 0 points.
Zero. That would be a disaster.
It would be an absolute disaster. Greg Berhalter would be left on the side of the road in Qatar. As
soon as the 90th minute hit against Iran, he would not be welcome back on the plane.
Yes. Best case scenario that's within reason. Obviously, it's a knockout tournament. You can theoretically win it. Newsflash, we ain't gonna win it.
No.
Realistic best case scenario, I think, is making it to the quarterfinals. Getting out of the group, I'm biased, of course, but I think the U.S. will get out of the group. And the way that it lines up is if we finish second in the group, we'll play the winner of Group A, which will almost certainly be the Netherlands. And as far as group winners go, that's about as good as we could ask for. It's not Brazil, France, Argentina. It's not Spain. The Netherlands are good. They're a good team, but they're beatable for sure. So that's a team that we can beat. And I forgot who the matchup, like what side of the bracket would go in the quarterfinals, but I just don't see this team making it to the semifinals of the World Cup. I would love it.
Too young.
I'll give you a case for, well, I guess this could cut both ways. Here's a fact. Okay. We have the 9 most important players on this team are healthy. I texted you 2 months ago and said, here are the 9 guys we need to be healthy going to the World Cup. That's the 4 kind of midfielders, attackers of Tim Weah, Christian Pulisic, Brendan Aronson, Gio Reyna, and then the midfielders, Weston McKennie, Tyler Adams, Yunus Musa, and then Serginho Dest and Anthony Robinson. Those guys are all healthy. They've never been healthy. I think the combination of Pulisic, Reyna, Dest, Musa, and McKennie have never played soccer together on the field at the same time. They've never been on the field together. So just because of injuries, and they're all young. Now, the good thing is that means this is the strongest team that we've had, that this group has had, because all these good players have never been on the field together. The bad news is these guys have never played soccer together.
Yeah.
So
they're a long time to prepare.
Now the group's been together kind of in hodgepodge, so it's not like they're not going to know what to do, but you just kind of won't know until you see it. I'm hopeful because, I mean, it's like I said, this is our most talented guys are healthy. They're ready to go. And I think that's a good thing. The good outweighs the bad. I'd rather see Gio Reyna playing on the right wing than Paul Arriola. But Paul Arriola's played with these guys. But I'd still rather see Reyna there because he's that much better. You know what I mean?
Mm.
So I think that cuts more toward overachieving than underachieving as a team. I look for the U.S. to get out of the group, and I'm going to say make the quarterfinals. I'm going to say we get to the quarterfinals.
I just want to get out of the group. If we get out of the group, I'll be happy. The rest is cake. Like when we got out of the group, let me just take you down a trip down memory lane. We got out of a group in 2014 with Germany and Portugal, and we got out of that group. Completely different team. There's probably not one player on this soccer team that was on that team.
One, DeAndre Yedlin.
Obviously, DeAndre Yedlin. That's it. One guy. We got out of that group. So, man, I would love it if it's going to be tough. If we lose to Wales first game, we're in a lot of trouble. If we can't pull a point out of that, I would. If you offer me a draw, I would take it right now, no questions asked. I think if you offered me a draw, I would take it.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Get through. Lose to England, beat Iran.
I think 4 might get through. It probably would, but I think the chances are better that we beat Wales than Wales.
Oh, if we beat Wales, that's phenomenal. But we could also go lose to Wales, and then it's over before it even starts.
Yeah, disaster. That's true.
Well, let me just for the avid. It wouldn't be avid. It would be what's the word?
The casual fan.
The casual soccer fan that just kind of tunes in around World Cup time. What they need to know is Christian Pulisic does not have to be God.
Yes.
There are so many good young players on this soccer team that can help out, like Tyler Adams.
There's a real chance that in 2026 Christian Pulisic does not start. That's how good. Yes. That's how good the player pool is. So it's not like he's our only good option. He's not Clint Dempsey in 2014.
It's a lot different than it was in 2018 when we missed the World Cup and it was literally Pulisic and a bunch of old guys.
Yeah.
It's not that way anymore. We've got a lot of talent on this team. So that is just something to keep an eye on. Coming up.
Even we're talking about Pulisic now starting. He didn't start against Mexico when we beat him 2-0 in Cincinnati. In qualifying, he didn't start, came off the bench. Now he did score the winner, but he didn't start. The team is functioning without him starting. So yeah, you're exactly right. He does not need to do everything.
For the diehards out there, not having Ricardo Pepi on this team, is that going to be a problem? He's a big reason why we got here. He had a great
he is what I don't think he does any one thing. The thing about a tournament is, we've got 3 strikers who all do things a little differently. And I don't think Pepe does any one thing well enough to warrant bringing him in for that purpose. Does that make sense?
That makes sense.
He definitely wouldn't be the starting striker. And so if you're going to bring a backup striker, you bring somebody who's really good at one thing. So if the game needs this, you put him in. And there's really nothing about his game that's that good that he would have a standalone purpose like that.
So you're okay with him not being on the team?
Yeah, he would have been on. I think I put him on my roster. The thing that I put out. Yeah, but yeah, I'm fine with him not being there.
He was the only guy that was like, man, that was surprising to me.
Real surprising.
Do what?
But it's real surprising. I'm hoping that Jesus Ferreira and Josh Sargent get all the minutes at striker. I like Haji Wright just fine, but I'm hoping that it's Sargent and Ferreira.
All right, so let's close this thing up. So give me a couple players to watch out for, and then give me a couple sleeper teams to look out for here in the World Cup.
All right, so players on our team to watch. Yeah. There's a midfielder, Yunus Musa. He is 19 years old. He plays in Spain right now, and he's unbelievable. He's been playing incredible for Valencia. That's his club team, and he plays like a grown man. He'll take the ball and he will body people off the ball and take off with it. He does that literally better than almost anybody in the world, and he's only 19. There was a rumor actually came out a couple hours ago that Juventus is trying to get him in January. So
Wow.
he's getting scouted by all the big clubs. He's the real deal. He chose the U.S. over England because he's a dual national, was born in New York, was raised in London, so he could play for either nation, and he chose the U.S., which is kind of cool.
That is
So
cool.
so he's somebody to watch. And then I mean, I got to talk about Gio Reyna. I mean,
Really.
yeah,
That's a boy.
he's the truth. I mean, I think he's going to be the best player to ever play American soccer. He's the only player that I think is going to actually give U.S. soccer some respect around the world, because people in England, they don't respect Christian Pulisic. He's nothing more than just a bench option for Chelsea to them. When to the Americans, he is, our flag bearer.
Yeah.
But I think Gio Reyna has the potential to be a truly world class player, and I think we'll see it this World Cup. I really do. I think he does something special. As far as the rest of the teams, there's a lot of games, so you got to have somebody to watch, right? My pick, I think, again, going back to sports are cool, like the whole Houston thing. I'm picking Argentina because this is Messi's final World Cup, and this is the only thing he hasn't done. He's literally accomplished everything there is to accomplish in the sport of soccer except win a World Cup. This is probably the best Argentina team that he's been a part of. There's probably been more talent in the past, but as far as a team working together, this is it. They have the right pieces around him to get the best out of him and also get the best out of the other guys. So I think Argentina wins. Dark horse to watch would be Uruguay. They have they have the old guard of Luis Suarez, who was been around forever. What's up?
Lighter.
Yeah. Yeah, I think. Yeah, I'm comfortable saying Uruguay can make a run. I mean, they're not going to win the thing, I don't think. I mean, their odds are pretty long, but they can make a run to the quarterfinals, maybe even the semis. They've got a lot of talent, a lot of young guys. Got a guy that plays for Liverpool named Darwin Núñez, and he can score goals in a hurry. So he's a guy that can carry a team. He's unbelievable.
Argentina lost to Germany in 2014, right? In the final. I'm pretty sure they lost.
Yes, they lost in the final.
A makeable, well, I say makeable free kick, a chance to score a goal.
Mm-hmm.
It was even close. And that was the end. And then France won in 18, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the arrival of Mbappe.
I think France is my pick to go back to back.
You know what? I'll say this. This is something I'll be watching.
Rare pick.
France's midfield
playing better than my guy Benzema right now.
He wasn't even on the World Cup team in 2018.
Yeah, he had all kinds of legal problems going on.
Yeah, legal problems. Yeah, that's what we'll call it.
Not a great guy, Benzema.
No, bad dude that Benzema. So France's midfield, N'Golo Kante for Chelsea and Paul Pogba, who plays for Juventus. That's kind of their bread and butter. They have an unbelievable midfield to get the ball up to Mbappe and Benzema, and that's how they make the sausage. You know what I mean? That's how they work. Well, both of those midfielders are out. Yeah, they're both injured.
I was just about to say, I think Pogba's out.
Yeah, and N'Golo Kante's hurt too, and you can see that in the way Chelsea's playing. He's their engine. He's everything for France and for Chelsea, and he's been hurt for a long time. So to replace him, they've got basically the whole Real Madrid midfield, a 19-year-old named, I forget his first name, but his last name's Camavinga, and then another fellow who's 23 years old, last name Tchouaméni. I don't know. But they're both unbelievable players. And so bunch of youth, those two young guys, Kylian Mbappe. I mean, it's going to be a great team to watch. So if you like watching good soccer, watch France.
Can't wait. Monday. It's going to be
good.
It's around the corner. USA, Wales. What time is that game? 1 o'clock?
1 o'clock? 1 Central. 1 Central. Now, for the people who like to wager, I think it's what? Leo Messi was plus 900 to win Golden Ball, which is player of the tournament, like MVP. If Argentina sniffs winning, even if they're in the set, like the consolation match, Leo Messi's getting that award.
Because this is it for him.
This is it. He's done.
He's retired from international play like 5 times, but this is literally it.
He's already 35. He'd be 39 years old in 2026, and he can't.
No chance he's playing at that age.
Yeah. So I think again, Argentina's my pick. If they win, he's a shoe-in. Like they're plus 550 to win the tournament, and if they win the tournament, he's winning the Golden Ball, and he's plus 900 to win the Golden Ball.
Who's the favorite? Argentina, Vegas,
Brazil.
Favorite? Oh yeah, Brazil.
Brazil's plus 420. So
420, that's your odds on favorite. What's USA's odds? 10,000.
15,000.
Hey, might have to put a dollar on that one.
It could happen. It could happen.
Right.
Hey, you talk to me Monday morning, and I'll be like, you know what? We could do
We'll
it.
be all
We're
in
winning
and
this
saying
thing.
we're going to win the whole World Cup. 2026 on our home turf. That's our year in the World Cup.
You know what's crazy is I think 2030 will be even better because Pulisic will be 30 years old, which is like right in the heart of his prime.
Yeah. All of our guys will be dead in their prime.
Yep.
But how much fun is it going to be in 2026 going to those
Can't
games?
wait. Can't wait.
Can't wait.
Now we're going to be defending our World Cup title in the U.S.
That would just be phenomenal. You stop that. Well, all right, everybody. Thank you all for listening. We appreciate it. We will try to be back next week for a little. Hopefully, we'll come in after the USA Wales game, get a little recap of a USA victory to start the World Cup.
That's right.
Thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll see y'all next week.